So welcome everybody to this morning's second Saturday's poetry reading. We do start on time, so I appreciate, we always say we'll honor those of you who were here on time by starting on time. Please, if you want to be read, if you want to share one of your poems in the open read, please do so. Just put it in chat and we'll make sure that we give everyone an opportunity to read. And if anyone's technically challenged and doesn't know how to put their name in chat, all you got to say, I want to read. Then we'll go around and with the help of Kathy and Richard, we'll get everybody who didn't put their name in chat. When it comes time to announce the readers, I'll announce them in groups of three, so you'll know when you're up, so you're not surprised. Please keep your microphone muted. And this is not a control thing. You got to keep your microphone muted out of respect for the other poets. When it's time for you to read, we'll say, please turn on your mic. Feedback is a gift, so there is very difficult email, Daniel with a B. The B stands for Basil, if anyone cares. Daniel B. Kerr at Verizon.net. So if you have suggestions to us in terms of way we can make these poetry readings more effective, ideas you'd like us to consider, before each reading, I always get together with Dr. Bronson and Kathy, and we look at the feedback. And we've been doing this for over a year now, virtually, but we do learn from you, and we do appreciate your ideas and suggestions. So we plan to start at 11 o'clock. After I get you all settled, I'll turn it over to Dr. Bronson. Our featured poet today is Tom Stock. Tom has currently had a little bit of a problem with his computer, so I do anticipate that he will be joining us. And if he's not joining us at the time we get to him, then we have a plan B in mind, and we'll welcome Tom when he gets here. Kathy Donnelly is working with him right now. So that's what we plan to do. This program is one of many different outreach programs of All Souls Church, historic All Souls Church in Stony Brook. So if you're interested in learning more about who we are and what we do, you just go to that website. And what you'll see there is, although we're a functioning Episcopal church and we are a national, on the National Registry, we do a whole bunch of things to serve the community. So those of you who've been coming for a while, you notice I mixed up the pictures a little bit. So we do a monthly concert, which is called Saturdays at 6. So you'll see students, those are students from Stony Brook University at the February concert, actually last Saturday, performing on the altar. Notice they were wearing masks, so we do maintain some COVID protocols, keep everybody safe. So we do monthly poetry. You'll recognize Robert Savino and Barbara Southard, the two poet laureates. That was the passing of the twig when Barbara became the poet laureate. So we do the poetry once a month. We had been doing it in the church, but we've now moved it back. We've been going virtual now over the last year. At some point, we'll get back into church, but for the time being, we've been doing these programs virtually. And what you may have noticed in other virtual communities that you're a part of, sometimes if you go virtual, you actually get more people. So, but we do the monthly poetry. We also do monthly Native American drumming. That is our Native American drummer, Dr. Rick Stadler. So we do that once a month. And there's two things we do weekly. We do two interfaith services. Those of you who do Adam, Adam Fisher, you say, what is the rabbi doing in an Episcopal church? Well, he's reading from the Old Testament and he's preaching. So that is truly an interfaith morning prayer service that we do Tuesday mornings at 8 o'clock. We also do an interdenominational rosary. Some people think only Roman Catholics do the rosary. That's not true. We've combined the Roman Catholic, the Greek Orthodox, and the Anglican tradition to an interfaith rosary, which we do every Wednesday. Doors are open every day, and you can't miss the sign when you go in on the left-hand side. If you want to feed the hungry, anytime we do an event at the church, we say, lend a hand, bring a can. So we collect the food, and we're very ecumenical. We bring the food to the big Catholic church in Port Jefferson Station. That's the woman from the food bank at St. Gerard Mejia. They feed over 200 families. So that's what we do. That's how we serve the community. Once a year, what we do is we bring together, we combine poetry. You'll recognize Dr. Bronson reading there. Music, you'll see two students from the university on the right-hand side together with our Native American drummer. So we combine poetry, music, and Native American drumming. And we do a program called Conversations of the Sacred, where we have sacred readings, and the sacred readings are done by all these poets. You'll recognize some of those smiling faces. And then the students provide musical accompaniment. So you may want to mark your calendar for that. That's August 6th. And the last thing before I turn it over to Dr. Bronson, which I'll mention, is that once a year we do a race, 5K race, 2K walk, to raise funds to make the church handicapped accessible, also to celebrate the role of the church in the community. And you can mark your calendars for that. That is October 2nd this year. And you'll notice, you'll recognize all the poets there. So we have a group that marches together, which is called the Live Poets Society. And I'm sure Dr. Bronson and Kathy and Barbara would more than welcome you, and Adam would more than welcome you if you wanted to join that group next year. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Richard. Dr. Richard, if you could come off mute and turn on your mic, please. Richard, you have to turn on your mic.
Okay, let me drop this. Can everyone hear me? Dan?
You are fine. Yep.
Okay, well, you know, I'm just hoping that Tom Stock worked out his technical difficulties. I've known Tom for years. He's a wonderful poet, very interesting style. And what we decided to do was, since if he possibly had a problem, that would give me a little more time, to give him a little more time, and I'm going to read 5 poems, 2 actually because of the Valentine's Day weekend, or to my wife, and then 3 others from my work. They're all in my new book, Imperfect Knowledge. So the first poem is called Dawn Ferry at Orcas Island. So Orcas Island is one of my favorite places to visit. It's in Puget Sound, north of Seattle, in the San Juan Islands, and the islands are linked by a state-run ferry. So Dawn Ferry at Orcas Island for Susan. You threw a jacket over your nightgown. I struggled in darkness into jeans, and we rushed onto the Widow's Walk to watch the ferry approach. Orion dominated the dawn sky, his belt a trio of stars, 2 tiers of light, silent on night water, floated towards the pier. Across the channel, firefly headlights flickered within the dark forest, racing toward the ferry slip. You stood by me, watching the gathering day extinguish the stars, and tones of rose and red madrona burst into flame. A voice announced through a loudspeaker, cars leaving for Lopez Island, board now, and gulls appeared, sounding the call to prayer from their high places. Heeding their command, we returned to bed, the temple of our love, tasted the power of Eros in celebration of the day. And then the second poem, also for Susan, called Thanksgiving. I wrote it near Thanksgiving, actually. Thanksgiving. I awaken in soft light to thee and me, bodies conforming to each other. My breath blows gently onto your shoulder, lips touching soft skin. If I were to open my eyes onto the day, this fragile moment would pass, and I have grown aware in the space between sleep and waking of a thought. Our breaths, the slow movement of air passing in and out minute by minute, mingle in this bedroom over the years, as our lives have, and I must give thanks. And so Thanksgiving has a larger meanings than the turkey. So 3 poems from my practice. The first is quite an old memory. I was actually a junior resident in surgery at the time before switching to OB/GYN. And the poem is called Taking Sides. And I'll read the poem and give a little commentary about it. Taking Sides. A junior resident rotating on rotation, new to the place, first case of the day, I met the surgeon at the scrub sink. Now gowned and gloved, we faced each other, the anesthetized patient between us. Silence ticked by to the sound of the ventilator. Well, why don't you ask for the scalpel, he said. Thank you for the case, I blurted out. But the hernia is on your side. I admitted him last night. We spoke through masks, but I could see his eyes, which broached no error. What? I'm sure you're wrong. I read my office notes this morning. The chart's over there. He signaled the circulator. Bring it over, see left. Scalpel, I said. The knife snapped into my gloved hand. Then the thought, could he be wrong? I'd trust myself. Wait, I'm sure I'm right. We've got to be sure. Wake him up, to me, anesthetist. Eyes. Now, everyone looking at each other, wondering, judging. I watched the man awaken, still strapped down under sterile drapes, puzzled when asked which side, and mutter, right. There was a question, now none, the surgeon said, turning to me. Took spunk, but I knew I had hesitated, almost stayed silent, and made the wrong cut. Well, this was decades ago. These days, we have something called a timeout in the OR. Nothing is done until basically the surgeon who was doing the surgery states the plan and the patient's awake and or the crew that's there. And only at that point is when they move forward. And then 2 poems from my current practice. I have to scroll down to get them. There they are. So my basic work in medicine is a reproductive endocrinologist, and I help couples establish families. And we do that, a lot of that through in vitro fertilization. And this is the first poem from that work. It's called Ode to an Everyman. I hold you in my hands, an embryo, no bigger than a dust mote in a droplet. One of many nurtured in the dark of an incubator this day, conjured from a sperm and egg, each a life to be fulfilled, ascendance then decay. What might you become once I place you there? A cut purse or a list, or die a little death within the womb? And then the last poem, laboratory assisted reproduction, which is in vitro. Laboratory assisted reproduction. Add eggs from cloistered places, from gonads goaded into gravid opulence, and sperm suffused with ancestral potency. Then gametes join in dark synthetic climes, their primal plans to present times, formed from their infatuated union, transferred by my tinker's hands to your waiting womb. The embryo has its way and names you mother. I have often probed that fecund place, and in the dark vista of my sonic vision, sought the motion of a nascent heart, bearing witness to life, beating ceaselessly within us, joining all creatures past, present, future, from the first conjugal meeting. Well, these days it's the nascent thing, but we can actually image by ultrasound the embryo within the uterus 2 weeks after missed period. And this poem came from the first time I saw that, and there was this moment of, it's just expressed in the poem of what I felt watching that heartbeat, which seemed to join me to every heartbeat in all creatures. Well, those are my poems for this morning. And I don't know if you have any word from Kathy about what's happening with Tom.
Not yet. Kathy is back. Let's see. Kathy is joining. So just while we're waiting for Kathy to chirp in, she's not shy. I'm sure she'll turn on her mic when she gets in. Richard, just beautiful poems. Just, you know, you so eloquently have described, you know, what you're feeling and experiencing as a physician. It's just, that's a real gift. And I think you've spoken in the past of how you've used, you know, kind of the poetry and the, normally I don't think people connect poetry and medicine, but I think you've provided such a wonderful example of not only a poetic voice, but you've said in the past how it's actually helped you in your, and you've integrated it into training of other physicians. Could you just share a little bit of that? We wait for Kathy.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, I've been fortunate in that the Renaissance School of Medicine at Stony Brook has a long history of focusing on what we call the medical humanities these days. It's really the non-science aspects of being a doctor, because there are 2 aspects course, science. And I think after World War II and the funding of the NIH, that really blossomed, but it eclipsed the other important aspect, which is knowing human behavior, and one of the best ways. So that was one aspect. We had a program, in fact, where we read poetry, and 3 poets, myself, Jack Houlihan, and Maria Basil, started a program for the medical students where they can join a workshop we have. We also have what's called the selective, where they can read poems, and we critique the poems in that workshop. So that's pretty major. The other thing, of course, is what poetry teaches, I think all writing does. And that is, you have to be a good observer. So in medicine, it's like, who wrote Sherlock Holmes? Well, Conan Doyle, a physician. You have to be a good observer, number one. And you have to be able to step back and listen and watch people and listen. And you have to be able to take your observations and put them in a concise manner to communicate to other people on rounds. And so poetry does that too. As writing does, but poetry especially, it compresses, the words and the emotions. And so we tend to have, as I said, we offer a workshop and support, and we actually have some lectures throughout the year that describes this in greater detail. And I would say, it's a small proportion. We actually offer now a combined MD with an MA in medical humanities. And we've gone up the classes about 140. And we have about 15, 20 students who actually participate in that too. So that gives us sort of a summation of that.
Thank you for saying that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we'll move to the open read. And if Tom does join us, then what we'll do is we'll recognize his presence, and then we will let him jump the line. But while we're waiting for Tom to make his entrance, I'd like to move to the open read. And we've talked a lot already about the fact that it's Valentine's Day, but it is also Black History Month, February. So I want to actually begin. And James, if you could turn on your mic, this is set for you to read. We have a poem by Maya Angelou. James?
Okay, I'll tell you what, I better read my copy of it. Okay, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. The free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream on the current ends and dips his wings in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with fearful trill of the things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and the names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands in the grave of dreams, his shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tone is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And I think Tom Stock may have actually come in now. Tom, are you able to make it? If you did, Tom, you got to turn on your mic.
Is he on the telephone, Dan?
I see him, but I don't hear him, Kathy.
All right, we finally got in, so I'm going to hand you over to Tom.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
Okay, everyone else other than Tom, please mute. Tom, we're ready for you. You've been introduced and welcomed, and we're all set.
Start reading?
You are ready. Go ahead.
Okay. Late winter. I long to thrust my hands into soil, which is softening after rock-solid hardness, with little snow left. However, there were some warm days in the farm hoop houses. A tropical climate inside warms workers, steams their glasses. Workers are sowing onion and leek seeds. Around noon, facing bright sunshine, my face feels our day star warmth. Morning doves call in early morning. I'm edgy, craving outdoor activities. Cold air doesn't have that sting anymore. Long winter nights are on the wane. Hibernation is almost over. I will hop, skip into spring in open air once again. This one's called El Capitan, and it's based on this picture here of El Capitan, which is a rock monolith in Yosemite National Park. And I was totally inspired at the base of this, looking up 3,000 feet. El Capitan. It ascends toward the stratosphere, perpendicular 3,000 feet of gray granite. A Yosemite Valley carving sculptured by a glacier. A metaphor for my ex-wife. She stood her ground, I wimped out, marshmallow against rock. I failed to climb it, I failed to crush it, I backed off, I failed to find a way around. Well, it's still there. Captain of rocks. She El Capitan me, a tiny ant at her base. Winter sleeps. While Orion walks across the night sky, nematodes curl inside sleeping quarters. Crabgrass seeds know their time will come. Rabbits are awake, still crepuscular. No fresh grass yet, so slim pickings. Geese feed on golf courses. Squirrels are feeders. Raccoons, gulls, ducks, deer. They know how to survive. Spiders, beetles, tucked under bark, box turtles. Where is everybody? 2 Rip Van Winkle amphibians, spadefoot toad, tiger salamander, asleep 8 months in hibernation. Clams hunker in bay mud. Horseshoe crabs move into deep water. Foxes and owls are still active. Spring peepers wait to peep. Spring bulbs awaken in ice cold ground. The biological clock of garlic bulbs have jumped the gun. Little asterisks of snow on the New York Times weather map. I snuggle under blanket layers, awaiting spring to awaken. Love poem to winter. Winter is my teacher. To deal with darkness and cold gray skies, wait time, nap time, she shows me her bones, bare trees, frozen ground, how her snow reflects light into my study. Love her for the way she tempers my yearning and longing for spring. She teaches by subtraction. I am Frank Sinatra's vocal cords. After listening to an early recording of Frank Sinatra, I had to pretend that I was Frank Sinatra. Air flows up his bronchial tubes, then the windpipe, and comes past his cords, asks permission to vibrate, to sing, soft, loud, vibrato, a treasure for the ages. Frank sings his heart out, but not so strong as to keep his chords fresh. Mouth to microphone, spotlight beaming, sings like a god. Sing like a god, Frank. Those vocal cords insured for millions, more records, more gigs. Listen, hear his songs. I am those vocal cords. I hear him singing. I am the one singing. No, Frank, it's me. We modulate, we hesitate, we crescendo a note that sends shivers up my spine. We rest after a performance, thinking how great we are. We are Frank Sinatra's vocal cords. Now, another thing I like to do is put CDs in my slot on my dashboard and drive around, hanging out with Aaron Copland. I pop his CD into the dashboard slot. His America, my America. Landscapes pass by, lakes, deserts, canyons, forests, meadows, rivers, all flowing from his music. A rodeo of diversity. I am bronco busting with Aaron. He jumps and sways. American flag snaps and waves. We are on the same wavelength. I see America from the car. Aaron Copland riding shotgun. His music has catnips me. We climb Mount Rushmore and swipe the president's heads. Thanks, Mr. Copland, for making me feel like an American. Now, this next poem is a result of an almost fatal accident in my car. It's called Black Ice. An uncontrollable skid as I come around a curve. My car spins a 360. I pull over, let my heartbeat slow down. My 33-year-old marriage has a much longer skid with patches of black ice here and there. There were my many black ice moments. She was sexy black ice, asked me to be her handyman. Innocent and unsuspecting me, she gave me a baited trap. Time and time again, I avoided those traps. And one day after we danced, she kissed me, her soft, exciting lips. Opened one door and shut another. My black ice women caught me. Okay, this next poem is called Buffet, and it's going to be a book coming out soon of 77 poems, and I'm going to read a lead poem from this book, which is called Buffet. This will be my last poem. Buffet. I am a buffet with my poems and for you to feast upon. Stack your paper plate with creative selection of food and poetry. My buffet is long in coming, 50 years to gather a harvest of ideas. Here's my smorgasbord, some short, some long, some come back for seconds. I have had the time to set the table of delicious variety of experiences. So eat and read. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry I caused a problem. It's always good to share my work with some of the poets in Suffolk County and on Zoom. So I'm going to say goodbye for now and signing off.
Just thank you again. You know, good things and good people always worth waiting for, and the broad range of beautiful poetry, the honoring winter and the Frank Sinatra's vocal cords and the analogy and black ice and marriage, all great stuff. Thanks so much, Tom. Big round of applause for Tom. Tom, this is recorded. We'll send you a copy of the link as well. Be well. Okay, so Tom has got to go. So what we'll do now is you can just leave the computer on, Tom, it's fine. We're going to move to the open read. And in the open read, we're going to announce them in groups of 3. So James was the first reader, and we've already heard from James. The next 2 are Linda Dickman, and then Herb. So Linda, over to you. And when you time to read, please just remember to come off mute.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Richard, I have not heard those poems before, and you made my day. Thank you so much. They were beautiful.
Thank you, thank you.
And this one, it seems we may be on a Frank Sinatra roll. I heard a young group of musicians do All of Me, and it did a little research. And Frank did this song, several different versions. This is my poem to honor those composers. All of Me for Gerald Marks and Seymour Simons. 1. Marks and Simons' gentle plea became Bell Baker's sultry incantation. All you took I gladly gave. There's nothing left for me to save. One heard the call, then on his way. 2. Speeding fingers, a quintet rhythmically racing through All of Me. Why not take all of me, like an anxious lover on a subway, full of joy and hurry and jazz. 3. Sinatra's swing time invitation, much more than a flirtation. 3 letters gave a vision of just what all meant. Kitchen dancing turns from free and easy to fresh and teasy to making love. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. It's just amazing the broad appeal of Frank Sinatra over so many generations. So thank you for that. Herb, over to you.
Okay, this poem was written February 5, 1979, while I was living in Anaheim, California. It was published in the 2021 issue of Bard's Annual. Intellectual beauty and hungry humans. Today, Adam's sitting on a swing in Sun Park. Because it's Saturday, most of Orange County's lead-gray smog will lie latent until Monday. Rain raged all week, but finally grants a respite today. Only harmless white cumulus clouds drift a great distance away, over Arizona, it seems. East rest the San Gabriel Mountains. They lie far above and beyond Orange County. They're covered with a thick white afghan of bright white snow. The snow has almost the same white shade as the clouds. Normally, because of the strong smog that chokes the sky and all below it, those mountains can't be seen. This Saturday, however, it is deep asleep. It will reawaken fully on Monday, but today it hasn't smothered and buried the sky above and around Orange County. Lowering his gaze away from the sublime, Adam turns around toward Anaheim. His visionary vision returns immediately to the mountain snow, snow-white clouds, white-hot noon sun, and pale white noon moon. Their beauty is well balanced in a powder blue sky. After a while, he decides to go home. It's lunchtime. He turns completely around. He sees the street and people rushing back and forth in cars, literally spewing poisons. Beyond the street, farther west, are tall, soot-stained buildings. We people sure have limitations, he sighs, while climbing into his car. He starts it, then hurries home, hungrily lusting lunch. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. Thanks for taking us back to California in the early 70s. Well done. Okay, next group of 3 that we have would be Barbara, and then Maggie, and then JR. And bear in mind, as I call out your names, I'm calling out as they appear on my screen. So if you go by a couple of different names, keep an ear open there. So Barbara, over to you. I think we only have one Barbara today. Sometimes we have more than one.
Okay. The other day, it was a confusion between me and Barbara B. I forget her last name. Anyway, okay. This is a February poem. Baby Leah in time and space. Woolly white below, cerulean blue above. Our plane speeds south to Florida, leaving snow and ice behind. A joyful mission to meet sweet new granddaughter Leah, born 4 days ago, a child of cheerful mien. She has the requisite 10 tiny toes and fingers, lavender eyelids, rosebud mouth, ears like little seashells. She is petite and, of course, perfect. What relative does she bring forward? Strong resemblance to her mother, and her name honors her mother's mother. Though yesterday, a smatter of my brother appeared in profile. Leah's dad, our son, agrees. My husband might see another. But look, son says to me, she looks like herself. Why bother with this silly play? Silliness? Nay, it's deeper. The relatives who carried us forward as we look back and ahead at what has been and what will be. This connection centers us in our place. The passing line of bodies and souls, those past as alive then as we are now, as so shall we be in all good time. Thank you.
Beautiful, Barbara. Just the magic of a child and all the connections there, just wonderfully put. Maggie, over to you.
Thank you. What a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Dan and Kathy and everybody. This poem appeared in the Performance Poets Association Literary Review and was one of several first place winners. It's called Response to Elizabeth Bishop. Losing happens easily, it's true. One moment out of mindfulness, what countless damage one can do. A mindless daydream trips you up and something that was there is gone. A family ring, a document, a scarf, a home, a friend. If one compiled a list of losses, the ticker tape would never end. The mind and heart may carry on, but some black mark remains to haunt, like bits of sand inside a shoe. I only glanced away to count the stars, and when I looked around, there was no you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Well done. Okay, the next group of three, we've got Carol. Actually, we do have a second Barbara, unless the Barbara was in there twice. So Carol, our second Barbara, and Sarah. So Carol? Carol, you got to come off mute. You got to turn on your mic. Should be on the bottom of the screen. There you go. You're in.
Okay, this poem is called Autumn. And it's a rhyme poem, just to warn you. Okay. Summer's bright glory is only half the story. That spark I found in you is taking on a complex hue. With all your imperfections, deeper still are my affections. Sunglasses are off. I see you. Deeper attachment is renewed. You're no longer green. True colors appear serene. Gold, yellow, red like fire. Deeper affection fuels my desire. I've never seen you shine so bright. Your history warms me with delight. We know it will soon get windy and cold. I'll cherish warmth when your hand I hold. And as your leaves begin to fall, I'll gather the red, yellow, and all. I'll put them in a special place as I gaze upon the wisdom in your face.
Thank you, Carol. Well done. Okay. So I make errors and I accidentally skip JR. JR, sorry for the missing you in sequence. So over to you.
No problem. Thank you, Dan. 3 dogs, 2 of them are napping, and of course the other one is barking. And it's like, no, 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 I have to read now. Be quiet, be quiet. Thank you all. Thank you, Tom. And so this is from many moons ago, Tom, but this is for you. And you'll probably remember because I stole your title. A Reservoir of Sky, the Pine Barrens. 2 guides, one ahead, one behind, a dying cardinal, not yet an adult, lies crying in a sacred forest. Our front leader, Tom, holds him, teaches an impromptu lesson, shows us his fledgling feathers, wingspan, raised red crown, head tilted on a weakened neck. I catch his black bead eye and know. Palm open, Tom gently places him on the forest floor, continues to guide this tour. I know he does the right thing. Our back leader, Max, stays behind, cradles the baby in calloused hands, takes him to safety, feeds him by an eyedropper, slakes his thirst, lets him rest in a nest of newsprint. He too does the right thing. I am torn. Go, follow, but knowing roots me to the core, standing on the trail, head down, my soul whispering, my mind silent beneath a reservoir of sky. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, JR. That's great. Okay, I think if there's a second Barbara, then the second Barbara, or maybe I just got the first Barbara twice. So if there's a second Barbara, come in. Otherwise, we'll go over to Sarah. So second Barbara, going once, going twice. Okay, so Barbara, I was so impressed with you. I put you down there twice. So Sarah, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to read a poem from my new book, Damsel in Dystopia, which is going to be published by Alien Buddha Press next month. This is the title poem. I want to be no one, stagnant in a state of beatitude, accompanied by sweet desolation, a place where only love can return me to, with walls thicker than the ones I've spoken to, and a picket fence overthrown by a garden overgrown, where I'll lay on the ground and let the soil bury me, exceed my lungs, the best in me. Don't be alarmed, I don't need saving. There's nothing I hate more than savior compensation. A damsel in dystopia, swallowed by a city of ruin, walking past a cat with a bird in its mouth. And as we lock eyes, I see myself in the carcass in his teeth. So let the dirt pile on and steal my breath like a bandit. The roots will sprout through my esophagus, climb to the tip of my tongue, tie themselves between my teeth, push past my lips and pour out upon my chest, then wrap around my back, and into the ground they go again. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Well done. Okay, I did just let some people who came in late to reading. Emily, I did get the fact that you want to read. I did get Diana that you want to read, so you've been added to the list. But the next group of 3s are Leslie, and then Shu, and then Sherry. So Leslie, over to you. And remember, Leslie, you've got to come off mute. Waiting for Leslie. Wait another second for Leslie. Okay, Leslie once, Leslie twice. Okay, Shu, why don't we go over to you then? We'll come back to Leslie if she wants to join us later.
So,
Shu, make sure your mic is on, please. Shu, you got to turn on your mic.
so I post the poem on the chat so you can read along. The title, Long Night. The road lamp is on. Oh, my shadow, thin and long. Rain mixed with tear rolling down. Moon peeps through curtain. Keep my soul awake for certain. Wet pillow for no reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Shu, and thank you for posting within chat as well. Okay, Sherry, over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for Daniel for this wonderful welcoming space, and Richard and everyone for sharing your art. The poem I'm going to read is dedicated to mental health awareness and suicide awareness with love for St. Valentine's Day. It's called Luminous. Oh, and it was published in the PPA anthology that just went out for the 25th anniversary. Thank you. Luminous. If I were fall, I'd give you colorful sight. Let oranges, reds, yellows brush their dance upon your face in peaceful presence. If I were winter, I'd warm your heart with woven blankets under a moonlit canopy as crackling fire set your creative sparks aloft. If I were spring, I'd greet your hands with crocus, tulips, and daffodils as sunrise melodies lift your dreams among fragrant petals anew. If I were summer, I'd bathe you in ocean sprays while sunlit sand grains receive your grace as love's immutable imprint. If I were any of these, I'd illuminate your soul in painted canvases, crafted poems, sculpted clay, and the world would know you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Beautiful. Okay, the next group of three are Ada, Victoria, and Mike from North Carolina. So Ada, over to you. Ada, that might be Adam. If there's no Ada, Adam is probably you.
All right, good. Hello, everybody. Would it be all right if I read two that are not very long? Do we have time?
Yes, it's okay, Adam. It's you, and we've got a little bit of extra time because Tom was short. Go ahead.
Okay, so this one is a sad poem, and the other one is funny. A letter from Kabul. A woman receives a letter from Kabul. We've just been through a big battle. Maybe you've heard about it on the news. We lost men, which is very sad, but I am okay, not really injured, just a few scratches. I can't wait to see you. I hope to get through this in one piece so we can have the life we planned. A week later, she receives a telegram. We regret. That's war. This poem is an imaginary take on something that occurred many years ago when my daughter was about 13. She's in her early 50s now. I took her to a Mets game, and and so you'll see what the story says. Actually, the fans were much more interesting than the game. Some of the fans were really a little crazy. But anyway, restrooms. The line for the ladies' room is long, as usual, but there are nearly half dozen men waiting for the men's room. Two girls can't or won't wait, so they brush past the waiting men and enter two stalls. Seeing this, three guys pull down their pants and face the stalls. When the girls come out, they glance at the guys. Not interested. We only came to pee. While the girls wash their hands, one fellow pulls up his pants, takes several paper towels, hands them to the girls, bows deeply. For you, mademoiselle. The girls take the towels. Merci, monsieur. Curtsy and leave. One calls over her shoulder. Your fly is still open. Okay, thank you very much.
I don't know how to quite describe the contrast between the two, Adam, but they were both very moving in a different way. So. Thank you. Okay, Mike from North Carolina. One of our two North Carolina poets today. Mike?
Good morning. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I didn't hear anything. Okay, I'm going to read a poem. Several years ago, I was asked to read my poetry at a community-wide Valentine's Day party. So they all knew I was addicted to rhyme, so I wrote them a little poem about my addiction and what it's brought me. Well, it all started out when I was quite young. My first taste of rhyme was from my mother's tongue. There was poor Humpty Dumpty and his fall from that wall. That was among the first rhymes I recall. And I'll never forget how little Bo Peep used rhythm and rhyme as she searched for her sheep. And of all the stories from that kind Mother Goose that led me to fall in with that wild Dr. Seuss. And I think it was Mom with her wry sense of humor that planted the seeds that became my rhyme tumor. She'd slip me a limerick with a humorous twist, knowing that's something I could never resist. And when I grew up to become a teenager, it was rhyme in the music that seduced me, I'd wager. Ray Stevens, Bob Dylan, Chris Christopherson, or maybe Weird Al, I can't blame only one. By then I was hooked, but I didn't know it. And I really thought then I was a closeted poet. I'd write and I'd write, but I'd never share it, for I was a boy, and a boy, well, just can't bear it. So I gave it all up and I said to myself, I will not write a rhyme, leave my poems on my shelf. Then I met a girl who would change my whole life. And I had to convince her to become my wife. So I wrote her a poem, and one became two, and two became three. And before I was through, the poems that I'd written, though not very good, got me the results that I hoped that they would. When I popped the question, she said, for all times, I think she was hooked on my rhythm and rhymes. So I stand here before you and I admit that I write it. I'm addicted to rhyme and I simply can't hide it. I'm not seeking your help, I just came to admit it. Once hooked on rhyme, you never can quit it. Let this be a warning. Don't pick up a pen and write down your thoughts with a rhyme at the end, or you may get hooked, and before you may know it, you too can become a little known poet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. That was wonderful. Okay, next group of three, which is our last group of three. And if you're not in this last group of three, don't worry, there's still time to put your name in chat. And also after the third one, we'll stop and pause and we'll make sure everyone who's on the line who wants to read has an opportunity to read. So the next three are Dan and Emily, and it's listed as Diana, but I have a feeling it may be our former poet laureate, Gladys. So over to you, Dan. Thank you. So this is a love poem, and it's actually, you set me up pretty well here, Mike. This is a love poem that I wrote to my wife before she was my wife. This was read by my brother, the general, at our wedding. So picture a guy in a general's outfit reading this poem at my wedding, and it was also published in the Performance Poets in 2019. And it's called Reasons Why I Love You. It's a poem to Susan. You make my heart sing. You can see through me and love what you see. You are warm and loving. I can pray with you. You share your beauty with me. You keep me open, no walls allowed. You make me feel alive. You make me smile. Your voice soothes, relaxes, and excites me. You make me feel 16. You let me kiss your feet. You trust me. You can be a maroon, a panther, a lady, a woman, and a little girl, all in one evening. You make me want to dance. You sing me simple, sweet songs. You share your laughter, your tears, your joy, and your pain. You let me in your corner. You became my partner. You make me feel real. You feel like a river when I touch you. You replace my fears with joy. You make me want to share my deepest thoughts. You remind me that I don't have to be alone anymore. I talk to you from my heart. You make me realize that there are more important things than the things that I worry about. Your lips taste like life, and you remind me that dreams can and do come true. Thank you. Okay, Emily, over to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for sharing this wonderful work. I'm going to read a poem that was published in Amethyst Review last February. It's one for the season. It's called Candlemas, Midpoint of Winter. I could tell by the light of last night's full moon it would snow today. Snow-filled dreams carry weight this time of year. Sure enough, swirling clouds have shifted into position. I whisper to green shoots poking bravely through the soil, not yet. The contradictions of February. This short month passes so slowly, though the days lengthen minute by stolen minute, offering hope that the earth will return to living color eventually. Activity thwarted, I reflect winter's rhythm, treasure the stillness, yet curse the frigid air that burrows past down-filled layers. Mark an X in the season's wheel, solstice to equinox and back again. In this trough, this deep winter silence, Gaia dances the spiral dance of promise.
Thank you, Emily. Well done. Okay, so we've got Gladys, and then I believe we have Victoria as well, and then maybe some others. So Gladys, over to you. It's always a pleasure to hear you read.
Really great day today. Wonderful reading. A wonderful reading, really, that shows our love to each other, to support each other as poets. So a Valentine's to ourselves, right? And we've given great, wonderful gifts to each other. From the Lake, 1. Blossoms of white dogwood, the clock turned forward. Winter gives way at last. Unswing with the wind, a green motorboat. Sunlight strokes its body. This lake has its secrets. 8 pine trunks dug deep into the lake's silt, harnessed with tires. Fishermen fear tomorrow's storms will float the dock away. June's last day, still pond, wild iris, cool breeze, the perfume of peony. Milk brown ducklings glide in their mother's wake. I count 8 today, the last in line, fragile, a comma. Perhaps an answer to what will remain or leave this day. But I plead, stay, precious life, stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. That was beautiful. Okay, so we've got now Victoria, and then I believe Bruce has decided to read as well. So Victoria, first to you, and then to Bruce. Anyone else who wants to read, just go into chat, please, and put your name there. Victoria?
Hi, everybody. This poem is called The Ever-Widening Sea. She closed her eyes and knelt, kissed the hem of its gown, made from Andromeda cloth, Milky Way in color, tied at the waist with a string of radiant stars. She had been a point he was trying to make, worthy, unworthy, a cautionary tale, a hopeful arrow pointing inward to the heart, outward toward the light. She had been more bird, more rabbit, more lion, more jungle simian than she knew. Now at the edge of the ever-widening sea, she finally understood it would be her last best hope. It would be the boat that carried her over the waterfall of time.
Thank you, Victoria. Well done. Okay, Bruce, and then Michael. And again, anyone else who wants to read, just put your name in chat. Bruce, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Dan. A lot of guys read some poems about poetry that was sort of designed maybe as a romantic inspiration. And this is a poem that I wrote when I had hopes to get my then future wife to take me a little more seriously. So this is called Etude for Isabella. I watched your hands, your swift fingers fall into their memory as you leaned toward the keyboard, leaning as if the hollow above the soundboard drew you in. This is where the music came from, a resonant space you filled with meter and tone and method. I studied you, desiring to master this skill, to hear the notes as you heard them, as you understood them, to know you that well. Notes that fell like rain on a lake, delicate and lyrical, as I was floating, listening. And after you gave me the kindest kiss, I wandered into an evening storm, letting its rhythms inform me. And I heard again that opus in the stillness between rain. Thanks.
Bruce, well done. Okay, so we have Michael and we've also got Leslie now has made her way back. So Michael, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to read a poem. It's a really favorite. It's an old poem. It's a favorite of my wife's. It's an old poem that I wrote many years ago. It's called Angel. Angel, tonight everything is angels. Morning has metamorphosized and beckoned me to love you. Your ocean eyes call to me tonight. Tonight when I cross bridges, because that's when I think most of you. Angel, in you I dream angels. Late at night on the 59th Street Bridge, I'm hypnotized because of you. By the Manhattan skyline and its lighted windows. Millions of windows, and in every window, a story. It's nights like these that make me wish I had 3 lives. One to live inside each story, a second to watch and write each one down, and a last to spend with you. On the ageless ocean, beneath a bright and lively colored moon, and beneath the peaceful stars of our forefathers. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Well done. Okay, and now Leslie. Leslie Simon, we're ready for you now, Leslie. So Leslie, you've got to turn on your mic. She's connecting to the audio now. We'll give her a second. And let's see, sometimes people have difficulty logging in. Okay, so while we're waiting for Leslie, I've got everybody, all the little heads up in the boxes here. Is there anyone who wanted to read that didn't have a chance to read? Leslie, did you make it in?
Yes, but I'm getting echoing feedback. Do you hear that?
Okay, Leslie, probably if you may have your cell phone near your computer. So if you take any cell phone that you have near your computer in the room. Okay, we'll give her a chance. Okay, Leslie, you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, try it now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Leslie, I don't think it's going to work. You're getting too much background noise, so hopefully we'll get you next time.
Okay.
Sorry. That's okay. So I'm going to mute everybody for a second here. Okay, so technology is usually our friends. Kathy and Dr. Bronson, do you see anyone else that wants to read? Kathy wants to read. We waited long enough. We'd get Kathy. Kathy, over to you.
So, hello, everybody. Good morning. And I just want to, did you ever sit on your computer and you're in the middle of something and it goes black? I don't know if you've experienced that, but that's what happened to Tom. He's upstate giving a seminar all weekend to students of his fantastic poetry. And his computer, after practicing with Dan and knowing just what to do, he not only lost his computer, but he didn't have his plug. So I instructed him to find somebody with a computer, and that took a bit. So I saw some stress and seemed to be under pressure, and he's returned to his students, so he won't be back. But I think our Henry David Thoreau of Long Island does a fantastic job under normal circumstances. And I want to thank Richard and Dan, for what I know you did in my absence. I'm sure you kept everything going. So I have a poem to read called Summer Storm. It's anecdotal, and it's inspired by what just happened in Ireland. And if you don't know, the Russian Empire sent over their navy to perform some war practices in the Irish Sea. And these fishermen, whose waters for where they fished was going to be disturbed. So they told Russia that if they could not do this, and they were going to take their boats, go out and thwart them. And so Russia left. And I'm just very proud to be Irish right now. This happened like within the last couple of weeks. Summer storm. Blue sky through slit in curtain. I rise September morning, off from everything, and know I will find my way to the sandy north shore, curling waves calling me to submerge in salty wet, surrender to the sea. But the sky is soon overtaken. Gray clouds move in, hurricane, paying a visit to the East Coast. I am faced with a dilemma. I hate decisions on fuzzy gray mornings. There are times when I'd like them all to be made for me. Gearing up, thermos and towel, I bicycle through Nessaquogue, up and down Moriches Road to Sandy Beach, beating storm to Holy Sound, home, excuse me, home to Holy Sound, home to my God. Lifeguard obliged to save, sits on his white wooden perch. I look for lightning in between strokes, swim in falling rain, wet on wet. There is a rebel in me, Irish roots, doing something no one else endeavors to do. There is a limit. I stop my prayer, step to shoreline. Chance of electrocution has me make another decision. That's it.
Well done. Great addition. Thank you. The last is quite a poet as well. Okay, so anyone else that would like to read before I turn it back to Dr. Bronson? Okay, Richard, back to you. I don't see anyone else who wants to read. I don't see any other names in chat. So I'll turn it over to you when you're ready to introduce the next poet for March. I'll call up her bio as well.
Sure. Okay.
So you want me to call up that bio?
Yep.
Okay, just give me a second, please. And there you are.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone in the Open Read for wonderful poems. It was just a wonderful morning of sharing our work, really high quality as usual. And of course, I have to thank Tom Stock in absence. Just a superb poet. And I think Kathy's comment, about being a Thoreau of Long Island is very, very valid. And Tom lived in the Pine Barrens for quite a while, and had wonderful stories from those times. And it was actually somewhat, I remember his actually reading, it was a book launch of his, reading A Goodbye to the Barrens, which was actually very, very moving. So we're lucky to have Evelyn Candela coming next month in March. She's Nassau County Poet Laureate, has been very active in the past with the PPA. It's published chapbooks and teaches adult poetry. And I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful reading. And I think we should all welcome her when she comes, and I look forward to that very, very much. Dan, you're muted.
Got to be at least, that has to happen at least once. So thank you everybody for joining us. Please remember that we do this every month, and we thank Kathy for lining up the poets to be our featured readers, and we thank Richard for hosting it. I'm going to stop recording now, but let everyone know who's on our Friends of the Church list, which is approaching 800 now. I will send you a link. It'll take me about an hour or so, but I will send you a link of this recording, and it's also posted to the All Souls website as well. And I'm going to stop recording here, and we go into now unstructured yak time. So I'll leave the room open for a while, and you can continue to speak to one another. So again, thanks for coming. We'll go into unstructured yak.